Hi, I'm Tina. Let me start this story by telling you about some of my problems. First of all, I can't seem to hold down a job. But not because I get fired. I always end up quitting. For a while, I thought maybe I just hadn't found the right job. But at this point, I've worked every kind of job you can imagine. Babysitter, legal aid, oil rig mechanic, you name it. My most recent job was being a dental assistant. And let me tell you, staring into people's mouths all day gets real old real fast. My relationships last just about as long as any of my jobs. But what can I say? I just lose interest too easily. I did get dumped once by a guy who told me he was sick of watching me quit things. My whole life, I've been told that I quit too easy. I never finished school, I never finished books, and I've never kept a New Year's resolution. My sister, on the other hand, is completely different. I have a twin sister named Geena, and she always follows through with everything she does. She's worked at the same company for so long, she's been promoted several times. And she's been with the same guy since high school, and now they're married. Geena always gives her all and never gives up, no matter what she does. Her biggest passion in life is fitness. She started working out from a young age and never stopped. She never takes any days off either, not even the holidays. Geena's all about endurance, hanging in there even when the going gets tough. That's why her goal was to place top 3 in the city marathon. She'd been training really hard for it. Meanwhile, I had never exercised before in my entire life. That is, until I followed Geena to the gym one day. She'd been bugging me to work out with her for a long time. But Geena was so hardcore that working out with her sounded like, well, a lot of work. I finally caved because this girl does not quit. Besides, I've been known to try new things. Starting is always easy. It's finishing that's tricky. We started by warming up on the treadmill. I'd never been on a treadmill before. Running in place is trippy at first. But pretty soon it started to get boring. So naturally, I wanted to quit. I was ready to go, but Geena was just getting started. We argued about it for a while. Then she came up with a compromise. She said, "If you can jog with me for 10 minutes without stopping, you can go, and you never have to exercise with me ever again." That sounded like a pretty good deal. So I got back on the treadmill with her and toughed it out for the entire 10 minutes. Did I want to quit? Sure. But more than that, I never wanted Geena to bug me about this ever again. When we were done, my heart rate was up and I'd broken a sweat. I actually felt pretty good. The next day, Geena asked me if I wanted to come with her to the gym again. I didn't have to, of course, but I actually felt so good after yesterday that I decided, why not? So we went on the treadmill and Geena said, "Why don't we try running for 11 minutes this time?" I was able to do 10 minutes yesterday. What's one more? So Geena and I went 11 minutes straight without stopping. And afterward, I felt even better than I did yesterday. So good, in fact, that I wanted to do more. That's when Geena said, "Let's lift some weights." I was excited. She took a dumbbell and demonstrated. Looked easy enough. So I picked up a dumbbell to give it a try. Keep in mind, I'd never held a weight before in my life. I mean, it was really heavy. I still managed to pump out a couple. But when I went to put the dumbbell back, I accidentally dropped it and it fell right on my foot. It hurt so bad, I couldn't walk. After that, I didn't want to lift weights ever again. Geena took me to the doctor, who told me I needed to stay off my foot for a while. Needless to say, no more gym for me. I could tell Geena felt really bad about this. I told her it wasn't her fault. She said, "That's not why I feel bad. I just hate that this happened when you were just starting to get excited about exercise." I told her, "Sure, but let's be honest. Even if I hadn't gotten hurt, I was probably not going to keep working out anyway." That didn't make her feel better at all. I guess Geena was hoping it'd be different this time or something. I don't know. At the time, I had a job as a dog walker, which I couldn't do anymore because of my injury, so I stayed home. Hurting my foot sucked. But just between you and me, not having to work was pretty sweet. I could lay on the couch and watch movies all day. I mean, that's what I was supposed to be doing. Geena would come over sometimes and keep me company. She loves sports movies, and she wanted to do a movie marathon where we'd watch all the Rocky movies. But I thought that sounded like a pretty big commitment, so we decided to just start with the first Rocky movie, which I'd never seen. Eventually, I got better and was back on my feet. Geena took me to my follow-up at the doctor. He told me that the injury had been so severe that my foot might bother me once in a while, so I had to be careful when I was working out. I said, "Oh, not to worry, Doc. I won't be doing that anymore." When Geena heard me say that, I could tell it bothered her. She said I was quitting too easily, as always. Maybe this is why Geena had insisted on me watching Rocky. Maybe she was hoping that it would inspire me or something. I told her I didn't want to go to the gym anymore. Lifting weights was too hard, and it nearly destroyed me. She said, "Remember how hard things got for Rocky?" I told her I knew what she was going to say next. But he never quit, and that's how he won, right? Geena said, "No, he didn't win." I was confused. He didn't? Geena said, "No, Rocky loses in the end." I'll be honest, I didn't know what happened at the end because I never finished watching movies all the way through. Geena kept bugging me every day to go work out with her, and I kept saying no. But this girl does not quit. It didn't take too long for her to wear me out. Eventually, I told her, "Fine, I'll work out with you, but I'm not lifting weights anymore." She got excited. "That's fine, we'll do whatever kind of exercise you want." I told her I wanted to do the treadmill. It was the only thing I'd enjoyed. I mean, I only ever did it twice, but both times were cool. So we got back on the treadmill. And since it had been a while, we started with 8 minutes. Then the next day, we did 9. Then we got back to doing 10. I was on a roll. The more I ran, the better I felt, and the more I could run the next day. I worked up to doing 30 minutes, then 45, then an hour. As impressive as all that was to me, I was even more surprised by the fact that more than 2 weeks had gone by. I'd never stuck with anything this long. Eventually, I caught up to Geena's training, and I was tagging along on her longer runs. She was still preparing for the big marathon, which she was determined to place in. When she gets locked in on a goal, she won't let anything get in the way. I always admired that about her. And you know what? Deep down, I wished I could be more like that. Maybe that's why I wanted to do something big, to prove to everyone and myself that I wasn't a quitter. And so, I decided that I was going to run the marathon too. Geena couldn't believe it, and neither could I. I never in a million years thought I'd ever do something like this. She was so excited that we'd be running the city marathon together. Well, we really wouldn't be together. Geena had been training her whole life, so she was on another level than I was. I mean, I kept up with her on our training runs, but the marathon would take much longer, and she'd definitely pull ahead of me eventually. She was trying to place top 3 after all. But for me, the marathon wasn't a race. It would mean everything to me just to finish. Getting to the finish line for once in my life was the only thing that mattered to me. On the day of the race, Geena was laser focused, and so was I. We had our sights set on different goals, but we were both determined to see them through. Geena and I stayed at the same pace for the first hour when she started to pull ahead. I could have kept up with her, but my foot started hurting, so I was slowing down, but I kept going. After a while longer, my foot hurt even more, but I kept going. About 2 hours in, I was in excruciating pain. I probably shouldn't have been running the last hour, but I didn't want to quit. And then my foot gave out entirely, and I collapsed. I couldn't even stand up. The only way I could move forward at all was by crawling. There were only a couple of miles left, but there was no way I could cover that distance. That's when I saw Geena. She'd heard what had happened and immediately ran back to find me. Geena asked me to try to get up. I tried really hard, but I just couldn't. I told her to just keep going. She wasn't going to place if she wasted any more time. She said, "But you've come so far. Don't you want to finish?" Of course I wanted to, more than anything, but it was impossible. I used to think sticking with something uncomfortable was the worst. But it turns out what's even worse is being forced to quit something even when you don't want to. I was done, and Geena knew it. And that's when she stooped down and lifted me up into her arms. "What are you doing?" I said. "We're finishing together," she said, and she carried me the rest of the way. Needless to say, it slowed her down and she wasn't going to place. In fact, all the runners passed us. When we made it to the finish line, we were dead last. I couldn't believe Geena had given up the chance to place. She was so far ahead, who knows? She could have even finished in first place. That's when she told me, finishing is winning. Geena didn't place like she wanted to, but in my book, Geena was number 1. I told her I was proud of her, and she said she was proud of me too. What keeps you going when you want to quit? Tell us in the comments. And don't forget to like and subscribe for more hidden wisdom stories. Remember, when you share our stories, you're sharing wisdom.